Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. Under the muted glow of the crescent moon, the outskirts of a sprawling city hum quietly into the night. Dr. Elliot Martson, a seasoned astrophysicist, was nestled within his observatory, a dome of solace surrounded by an expanse of whispering grasses. His evening was dedicated to the stars, scanning the heavens with a powerful telescope that was his window to the universe. As Elliot adjusted the focus on a particularly bright cluster of stars, a streak of light cut across his field of vision. Startled, he stepped back from the eyepiece, his heart racing. The light, intense and unyielding, plummeted toward the earth, its trajectory ending not far from where Elliot stood. His curiosity piqued. He grabbed a flashlight in his jacket, heading out into the cool night air. The crash site was surprisingly close, a mere 20 minutes' walk from the observatory. As he approached, Elliot saw the smoldering remains of what appeared to be a small spacecraft. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone, and the ground was littered with debris. Amidst the wreckage, a figure lay motionless. Elliot rushed to the side of the alien visitor, a girl with skin that shimmered under the moonlight like the surface of a pearl. He checked for signs of life. She was alive but unconscious. Knowing he needed help, Elliot dialed his friend, Dr. Simon Fletcher, a biologist and a fellow stargazer. "Simon, I need your help. It's urgent," Elliot said as soon as the call connected. "What's happened? Are you all right?" Simon's voice was laced with concern. "It's not me. It's what I found. Can you come to the old field by the West Ridge?" Minutes later, headlights bobbed in the distance as Simon drove his old Jeep over the uneven terrain. He arrived with a medical kit in hand, his brow furrowed in worry. "What on earth?" Simon gasped as he saw the alien girl. "I don't know, but she needs our help," Elliot replied, gesturing toward the spacecraft. Working together under the beam of their flashlights, they gently lifted the girl into the back of Simon's Jeep, cushioning her with their jackets. The drive back to Elliot's house was tense, filled with more questions than the night sky had stars. Once home, they settled the girl on a spare bed. Simon examined her more thoroughly, while Elliot hovered nearby, his mind racing with the implications of their extraterrestrial visitor. "She seems stable for now. We need to keep her warm and hydrated," Simon instructed, his professional calm somewhat soothing Elliot's nerves. "Thank you, Simon. I don't know what I would have done on my own." "Don't mention it. But, Elliot, we need to decide what to do next. She can't stay here indefinitely." "I know. Tomorrow, we'll try to figure out where she's from and what she needs. For tonight, let's just ensure she's safe." As the early hours of the morning crept in, Elliot couldn't sleep. He sat by the alien girl's side, watching her breathe, the soft rise and fall of her chest a silent testament to the life within her. Her face was serene, and in her peacefulness, she looked like any human girl, lost and far from home. The first light of dawn filtered through the window when her eyelids fluttered open. Startled, Elliot leaned closer, offering a gentle smile. "Hello there. You're safe here," he said softly. The girl looked around, her eyes wide with confusion and wonder. She tried to speak, but only a series of musical tones escaped her lips. Realizing she couldn't understand him, Elliot continued, "My name is Elliot Martson. Can you understand me?" She stared at him intently, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she nodded. A wave of relief washed over Elliot. "We're going to help you," he promised. As the alien girl sat up, looking around with a mixture of fear and curiosity, Elliot knew that the world as he knew it had just expanded beyond the stars he so loved to watch. Together with Simon, he would embark on a journey not just of scientific discovery, but of understanding and compassion. A journey that began with the girl from the stars. Under the muted glow of the crescent moon, the outskirts of a sprawling city hummed quietly into the night. Dr. Elliot Martson, a seasoned astrophysicist, was nestled within his observatory, a dome of solace surrounded by an expanse of whispering grasses. His evening was dedicated to the stars, scanning the heavens with a powerful telescope that was his window to the universe. As Elliot adjusted the focus on a particularly bright cluster of stars, a streak of light cut across his field of vision. Startled, he stepped back from the eyepiece, his heart racing. The light, intense and unyielding, plummeted toward the earth, its trajectory ending not far from where Elliot stood. His curiosity piqued. He grabbed a flashlight in his jacket, heading out into the cool night air. The crash site was surprisingly close, a mere 20 minutes' walk from the observatory. As he approached, Elliot saw the smoldering remains of what appeared to be a small spacecraft. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone, and the ground was littered with debris. Amidst the wreckage, a figure lay motionless. Elliot rushed to the side of the alien visitor, a girl with skin that shimmered under the moonlight like the surface of a pearl. He checked for signs of life. She was alive but unconscious. Knowing he needed help, Elliot dialed his friend, Dr. Simon Fletcher, a biologist and a fellow stargazer. "Simon, I need your help. It's urgent," Elliot said as soon as the call connected. "What's happened? Are you all right?" Simon's voice was laced with concern. "It's not me. It's what I found. Can you come to the old field by the West Ridge?" Minutes later, headlights bobbed in the distance as Simon drove his old Jeep over the uneven terrain. He arrived with a medical kit in hand, his brow furrowed in worry. "What on earth?" Simon gasped as he saw the alien girl. "I don't know, but she needs our help," Elliot replied, gesturing toward the spacecraft. Working together under the beam of their flashlights, they gently lifted the girl into the back of Simon's Jeep, cushioning her with their jackets. The drive back to Elliot's house was tense, filled with more questions than the night sky had stars. Once home, they settled the girl on a spare bed. Simon examined her more thoroughly while Elliot hovered nearby, his mind racing with the implications of their extraterrestrial visitor. "She seems stable for now. We need to keep her warm and hydrated," Simon instructed, his professional calm somewhat soothing Elliot's nerves. "Thank you, Simon. I don't know what I would have done on my own." "Don't mention it. But, Elliot, we need to decide what to do next. She can't stay here indefinitely." "I know. Tomorrow, we'll try to figure out where she's from and what she needs. For tonight, let's just ensure she's safe." As the early hours of the morning crept in, Elliot couldn't sleep. He sat by the alien girl's side, watching her breathe, the soft rise and fall of her chest a silent testament to the life within her. Her face was serene, and in her peacefulness, she looked like any human girl, lost and far from home. The first light of dawn filtered through the window when her eyelids fluttered open. Startled, Elliot leaned closer, offering a gentle smile. "Hello there. You're safe here," he said softly. The girl looked around, her eyes wide with confusion and wonder. She tried to speak, but only a series of musical tones escaped her lips. Realizing she couldn't understand him, Elliot continued, "My name is Elliot Marsden. Can you understand me?" She stared at him intently, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she nodded. A wave of relief washed over Elliot. "We're going to help you," he promised. As the alien girl sat up, looking around with a mixture of fear and curiosity, Elliot knew that the world as he knew it had just expanded beyond the stars he so loved to watch. Together with Simon, he would embark on a journey not just of scientific discovery, but of understanding and compassion, a journey that began with the girl from the stars. Morning light spilled through the windows of Elliot's modest living room, casting a warm glow over the figure on the couch. The alien girl, whom Elliot had named Sarah, sat wrapped in a blanket, her eyes scanning everything around her with an inquisitive shimmer. Elliot and his friend Simon were at the kitchen counter, whispering about their next steps while brewing coffee. "We should try some basic words. See what sticks. Maybe she understands some form of universal language," Simon suggested, handing Elliot a mug. "Yeah, it's worth a try. And we need to check her spacecraft, too. Maybe there's something in there that can tell us more about where she's from, Elliot replied, taking a sip of his coffee. They approached Sarah together, their demeanor friendly and open. "Good morning, Sarah," Elliot began, pointing to himself. "I'm Elliot, and this is Simon." He gestured toward Simon, who waved slightly. Sarah mimicked the wave, a small smile breaking on her lips. "Elliot, Simon," she said, her voice musical but clear. "Exactly, yes." Elliot's voice was enthusiastic. He continued, pointing to various objects around the room and naming them. "Chair, window, coffee." With each word, Sarah repeated, her pronunciation nearly perfect. The learning speed was astonishing, and both men exchanged looks of amazement. After a quick breakfast, they decided to visit the crash site to retrieve what they could from the wreckage. Packing tools and protective gloves, they led Sarah outside, who seemed eager but cautious, her eyes squinting against the bright sunlight. The crash site was a mess of twisted metal and scorched earth. Elliot directed Simon to collect any intact pieces of technology while he and Sarah searched for personal items that might belong to her. Sarah stopped by a small, metallic box, partially buried under debris. She carefully dug it out and opened it, revealing what looked like a digital device. Her face lit up with recognition, and she showed it to Elliot. "This must be important to you," Elliot observed. "Yes, important," she affirmed, clutching the device to her chest. Back at the house, they connected the device to Elliot's computer using various adapters. The screen flickered to life, displaying alien script and images that made Sarah's eyes widen with a mix of joy and sorrow. "Can you tell us what this is?" Simon asked, peering over Elliot's shoulder at the screen. "Home," she whispered, pointing to the images of lush landscapes and towering structures unlike anything on Earth. Elliot and Simon listened intently as Sarah began to describe her world. Aridia, a planet of vast oceans and floating cities. The descriptions were interspersed with her own story, how she had been exploring new space routes when her ship malfunctioned. As the day turned into evening, the conversations grew deeper. Simon prepared dinner, occasionally joining in to ask about Aridian technologies, while Elliot took notes, fascinated by every word. After dinner, they sat together, flipping through more images on the device. Sarah pointed out her family, her eyes gleaming with tears. "Family," she said, her voice breaking slightly. Elliot put a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll help you get back, Sarah. We'll figure it out." "Thank you," she responded, leaning into the warmth of human kindness. The night deepened around them as they made plans. They would need to learn more about interstellar travel, perhaps contact experts in exobiology and engineering. But for now, they had established a profound connection, bridging the gap between two vastly different worlds with empathy and curiosity. As Sarah retired to her room, Elliot and Simon sat back in the living room, their minds racing with the possibilities. "We're really doing this, aren't we?" Simon asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. Elliot smiled, looking at the stars visible through the window. "Yeah, we are. We're going to help her, Simon. We're going to help our new friend from another world." The next morning, the soft hum of a computer and the scent of freshly brewed coffee filled Elliot's study. He and Simon were huddled over the alien device, which had been hooked up to several screens displaying streams of data and images. Sarah sat beside them, pointing out symbols and translating their meanings. "Okay, this symbol here," Elliot pointed to a triangular glyph on the screen. "You said it means home, right? Can you show us any symbols related to your ship or its travel path?" Sarah nodded eagerly and scrolled through the device with a practiced touch. "This one, path," she explained, highlighting a series of lines intersecting with dots. Simon, who had been taking meticulous notes, looked up. "Path? Like a star map or navigation route?" "Yes, route. Home," Sarah affirmed, her voice a mix of nostalgia and hope. As the day progressed, Elliot decided it was time to bring in another expert. He called Dr. Martin Rees, an astrophysicist known for his work on interstellar navigation. Martin arrived within the hour, his curiosity piqued by Elliot's cryptic invitation. Martin entered the study, his eyes widening at the sight of the alien technology. "Elliot, you didn't mention you had a guest from another planet," he joked, extending a hand to Sierra. "Dr. Martin Reese. Pleased to meet you." Sierra shook his hand, amused by his formal yet friendly demeanor. "Sierra," she replied simply. Elliot quickly brought Martin up to speed. "We're trying to decipher her star map to figure out a possible return path, or at least understand where she came from." Fascinated, Martin joined the group at the computer. "Let's see what we have here," he said, adjusting his glasses. Together, they dove deeper into the alien script and images. Throughout the afternoon, the small study buzzed with discussions of astrophysics and alien technology. Sierra was more than just a subject of curiosity. She became a teacher, guiding them through her world's advancements. "I've never seen anything like this," Martin exclaimed as he examined the navigation algorithms. "Her ship uses quantum entanglement for navigation. It's theoretically possible, but we haven't managed it yet on Earth." Simon, ever the biologist, asked, "Does your species have a different perception of space and time, Sierra? Is that why your technology seems so advanced to us?" Sierra nodded. "Yes, time flexible. Space dense." Her words painted a picture of a civilization that lived in a reality quite unlike Earth's. As evening approached, they took a break, sharing a meal in Elliot's dining room. The conversation lightened and Sierra shared stories of Aridia, describing the vibrant life and the floating cities that dotted her planet's oceans. Post-dinner, they returned to the study. Energized by the possibility of breakthroughs, they tackled the most intricate parts of Sierra's data. Martin proposed simulations based on the algorithms they had uncovered, hoping to create a model of Sierra's journey through space. "Imagine if we could replicate this technology," Martin mused as he typed out equations. "It could change human space travel forever." Elliot smiled, looking over at Sierra, who was following the conversation with keen interest. "Let's focus on getting our friend here some answers first." "Yes, of course," Martin agreed. "But you realize this could be the beginning of a whole new chapter for Earth." Their work continued into the night, the room lit by the soft glow of computer screens and the brighter light of new understanding. By the end of the session, they had mapped a preliminary route back to Aridia, a feat that left them all feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. As they wrapped up, Sierra placed her hand on Elliot's. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "You're welcome, Sierra. We're all in this together," Elliot responded, squeezing her hand gently. Together, they stood at the threshold of not just interstellar navigation, but also a profound intercultural friendship, each learning from the other in ways that transcended mere data and technology. In the softly lit confines of Elliot's basement lab, the group gathered around a newly installed communications setup. Sierra, Elliot, Simon, and Dr. Martin Reese were ready to attempt the first real-time communication with Aridia using the quantum entanglement technology Sierra's device suggested. Elliot adjusted the dials on the console, his hands steady despite the nervous energy in the room. "Okay, Sierra, whenever you're ready. Try initiating the connection," he instructed. Sierra nodded and interacted with the device, her fingers moving with precision over its surface. The air in the room thickened with anticipation as they all watched the screens flicker and then stabilize, showing a complex array of alien script and symbols. "Is it working?" Simon whispered, not wanting to break the concentration. Sierra's focus remained unbroken as she continued her adjustments. Suddenly, the static cleared, and the screen displayed a breathtaking view of a city floating on what appeared to be a vast ocean. The sight was so unexpectedly beautiful that the group momentarily forgot their task. That's Aridia?" Martin asked, his voice a mix of awe and scientific curiosity. "Yes, this is home," Sierra confirmed, her voice soft with emotion. Elliot stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the screen. "Can you contact your family now?" Sierra pressed a few more symbols, and after a few heart-stopping moments, the face of an older male appeared on the screen. His features were distinctly similar to Syrah's, and his expression changed from stern to joyous upon seeing her. "Syrah, my child, you are safe," the figure exclaimed in their language, which Elliot set up automatically translated. "Yes, father, I am safe, thanks to my friends here on Earth," Syrah replied, gesturing to Elliot, Simon, and Martin. Her father's gaze shifted to the men standing beside her. "I am in your debt, Earthlings. My daughter speaks highly of your kindness and brilliance." Elliot, feeling a bit overwhelmed by the gravity of the moment, managed a polite nod. "We're just glad we could help, sir. We hope to assist Syrah in returning home safely." The conversation that followed was a surreal experience for everyone involved. Syrah's father explained the political instability that led to Syrah's exploratory mission going awry. He spoke of her importance to their people, not just as a princess, but as a key figure in their scientific community. Martin, ever the scientist, asked questions about their technology, particularly about the quantum entanglement communication, which seemed decades ahead of anything on Earth. "The principles are similar to what you have theorized on Earth," Syrah's father explained, "but we have harnessed natural quantum phenomena that occur in our environment, something we hope to share more about." As the call drew to a close, Syrah's father made a formal request. "Please take care of my daughter until we can arrange a safe return. We shall prepare for a proper diplomatic dialogue to thank you and discuss potential collaborations." The screen went blank, leaving the group in a reflective silence, each man processing the monumental nature of their interaction. "That was incredible." Simon finally broke the silence, his voice filled with wonder. Elliot nodded, feeling a mix of pride and responsibility. "We have a lot to prepare for. Syrah, we'll do everything we can to make sure your stay here is comfortable and your return home is safe." Syrah smiled, her eyes moist. "Thank you, Elliot, Simon, Martin. I am far from home, but with you, I feel a sense of belonging." The men smiled back, each feeling a profound connection to their new friend and her world. As they left the basement to discuss the next steps over dinner, the lines between visitor and host, between Earth and Aridia, seemed to blur, replaced by a mutual respect and an eager anticipation of the future. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Elliot's kitchen, where Syrah and her earthly companions gathered around the breakfast table. The mood was light, filled with excitement for the day ahead. Elliot had planned a tour of Earth's natural and cultural landmarks, a gesture of goodwill and friendship towards Syrah. "First stop will be the Grand Canyon," Elliot announced as he passed plates of scrambled eggs and toast around the table. "It's one of Earth's natural wonders, and I think you'll find it quite spectacular, Syrah." Syrah, who had become more accustomed to Earth's customs, smiled warmly at Elliot. "I am eager to see more of your world, Elliot. Thank you for this kindness." Simon, always ready with his camera, chimed in, "You'll want to capture some of these sights for sure. The canyon at sunrise is unforgettable." Martin, who had decided to join the excursion to further bond with Syrah and learn from her, looked over the itinerary. "After the canyon, we're heading to New York City, right? The cultural diversity there is immense. It should give you a good glimpse of Earth's societal variations." The group set off in a comfortable rental van equipped with all the necessities for their several days' journey. Their first destination, the Grand Canyon, did not disappoint. Syrah stood at the edge of the vast geological marvel, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like looking at time itself," she said, her voice filled with awe. "On Aridia, we have the floating mountains of Zalara, but this is majestic." Elliot watched her reaction with a sense of pride. "I'm glad you like it. Earth has its own beauty, doesn't it?" Simon snapped photos of Syrah against the backdrop of the rising sun, capturing the moment of pure joy on her face. "These will be great for the memory book," he said, showing Syrah some of the shots on his digital camera. From the Grand Canyon, they traveled to New York City, where the bustling energy shifted their experiences from the natural world to the human-made. They visited museums, parks, and diverse neighborhoods, each offering Syrah a different flavor of human culture. In Central Park, as they enjoyed a light picnic, Martin initiated a discussion. Syrah, how are these experiences comparing with your expectations of Earth? Syrah thought for a moment before answering. I knew of Earth's cultural richness, but seeing it firsthand, feeling the vibrancy, it's more profound than I expected. Your world is beautiful in its complexity. As the day faded into evening, the group found themselves at a Broadway show, engrossed in the spectacle of music and drama. Syrah was particularly moved by the storytelling, the universal themes of love, conflict, and triumph resonating with her deeply. Post-show, they strolled through Times Square, the city lights casting a glow on their faces. It's like daytime at night, Syrah laughed, marveling at the illuminated advertisements and bustling crowds. Elliot leaned in, sharing a quieter moment amidst the chaos. Every part of Earth has its own rhythm, its own life. I hope you're getting a good sense of that. I am Elliot, Syrah replied, her hand brushing his arm lightly. Your home is as diverse as it is beautiful. The tour continued over the next few days, with visits to other iconic locations like the pyramids of Giza, the Great Wall of China, and the serene landscapes of the Norwegian fjords. Each site brought new revelations and delights for Syrah, weaving her experiences into a tapestry of earthly understanding. By the time they returned to Elliot's home, their bond had grown stronger, a mixture of friendship and mutual respect that transcended their planetary origins. The journey had not only shown Syrah the beauty of Earth, but had also deepened the camaraderie among the group, setting a profound foundation for the days to come. The soft glow of twilight enveloped Elliot's backyard as he and Syrah sat together on a wooden bench, looking up at the star-studded sky. Their journey around Earth had not only deepened their understanding of each other's worlds, but had also quietly woven the delicate threads of affection between them. Elliot turned to Syrah, his voice gentle. You've seen a lot of Earth now. Does Aridia have anything similar to what you've seen here? Syrah smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the stars above. Some things are similar, but each is unique in spirit, like your oceans, vast and mysterious, yet unlike the liquid methane seas of Aridia. Their conversation drifted from the environmental aspects to the cultural exchanges they had experienced. As the night deepened, so did their comfort with each other. Elliot's hand found Syrah's, their fingers intertwining naturally. Syrah, Elliot began, his tone serious yet full of warmth. There's something I've been wanting to ask you. Being with you these past weeks, showing you my world, sharing these moments, I felt something I haven't felt in a long time. Syrah turned to face him, her expression open and attentive. Elliot, I too have felt something. On Aridia, we speak of a bond called Ziriana. It's the connection of souls beyond physical spaces. I feel this with you. Encouraged by her words, Elliot leaned closer. I don't know what the future holds, especially with the distance your world and mine have between them, but I know what I'm feeling now. He paused, searching her eyes for any sign of hesitation. There's no distance too great to diminish what I feel for you, Elliot, Syrah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. In a moment driven by the raw emotions that had been simmering between them, Elliot leaned in to kiss Syrah. It was a gentle, exploratory kiss, one that spoke of respect and burgeoning love rather than passion alone. Syrah responded in kind, her hands reaching up to caress Elliot's face, deepening the kiss as natural and undeniable as the tide meeting the shore. As they pulled away, the world seemed to hold its breath, their connection a palpable force in the quiet of the night. I have never felt this way before, Syrah confessed as she rested her forehead against Elliot's. Your world, your heart, they enchant me. Elliot chuckled softly, the sound mixing with the gentle night breeze. And you've enchanted me, Princess of Aridia. I want to make the most of every moment we have together. They spent the rest of the evening talking about everything and nothing, from the mysteries of the cosmos to the simple joys of earthly cuisine. As the night drew to a close, Elliot led Syrah back inside, their hands still clasped firmly. Once inside, the intimacy of the indoor space seemed to amplify their connection. Elliot lit a few candles, casting a warm glow around the living room, and turned on some soft music. They danced slowly, cheek to cheek, each step a testament to their shared rhythm. As the song ended, Sarah looked up at Elliot with a smile that lit up her entire face. "I am grateful for this night, for all the nights and days you've shared with me." Elliot pulled her closer. "As am I, Sarah. As am I." In the safety of Elliot's home, they found not just refuge, but a profound connection that promised to transcend the vastness of space. Theirs was a tender narrative unfolding under the watchful gaze of the universe, a narrative of love, discovery, and the endless possibilities of a shared future. After their intimate evening, the new day brought with it a palpable change. The sun streamed through the windows as Elliot and Sarah sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by diagrams and notes about Aridia and Earth. The peaceful morning was a stark contrast to the complex emotions both were navigating. Elliot poured them both a cup of coffee, breaking the silence. "Sarah, we've been so caught up in exploring and everything else, we haven't really planned what comes next. Your father's last message mentioned preparations for your return." Sarah looked up, her expression tinged with melancholy. "Yes, my return to Aridia is inevitable. My people need me, and there are duties I cannot ignore." Simon, who had joined them for breakfast, added his thoughts. "Is there a timeline? How soon do they expect you back?" "They are preparing a delegation to arrive here, to formally express their gratitude and discuss the terms of my return," Sarah explained, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "It could be any day now." Elliot reached out, covering her hand with his. "Whatever happens, we'll make sure the transition is smooth for you, and we'll continue working on the communication link between Earth and Aridia." Martin, who had walked in to join the discussion, nodded in agreement. "Yes, and the technology exchange could benefit both our worlds immensely. We have a lot to learn from each other." The conversation shifted towards technical preparations and the logistics of the upcoming interstellar visit. Despite the scientific excitement, an undercurrent of personal loss pervaded the atmosphere. Later that day, as Elliot and Sarah worked together in his study, adjusting the settings on the communication device, Elliot broke the focused silence. "Sarah, have you thought about what this means for us?" Sarah paused, her hands still. "I have, every moment since we acknowledged our feelings. I wish there were easy answers." "Elliot, there might not be easy answers, but we have options," Elliot insisted gently. "Maybe I could visit Aridia. If there's a will, there's a way, right?" Sarah smiled, a sad smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Your optimism is one of the things I admire most about you. Yes, perhaps there is a way, but the responsibility I have to my people—" "I know," Elliot acknowledged, "and I would never ask you to choose me over your duties. Maybe we can find a balance." Their conversation was interrupted by a beep from the communication device. A message had come through, indicating that the Aridian delegation was on its way, much sooner than expected. The next few days were a blur of preparations. Elliot and Simon, along with a team of Earth's best diplomats and scientists, organized a welcoming ceremony. Sarah, caught between her roles as an Aridian princess and a woman deeply connected to Earth, was a pivotal figure in the negotiations. On the day of the delegation's arrival, the air was thick with anticipation. The Iridians were gracious, their demeanor regal yet friendly. Sarah stood beside Elliot, her hand occasionally brushing his as they introduced her people to Earth's representatives. After the formalities, Sarah's father pulled her aside. In a quiet corner of the room, he spoke softly but firmly. "Sarah, you have done well. Your reports have opened our eyes to the potential of Earth, but it is time to come home." Sarah nodded, her heart heavy. "I understand, Father. I am ready to fulfill my duties." As the delegation mingled, Elliot found a moment to speak with Sarah alone. "I'll miss you," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "And you," Sarah replied, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But this is not goodbye, Elliot. Let's think of it as until next time." Their final embrace was a promise, a silent vow of continuing what they had started, irrespective of the vast distances that would soon separate them. The stars, once a tapestry of distant, burning lights, had become a bridge between their worlds, a bridge that neither time nor space could easily sever. The morning of Syrah's departure arrived all too quickly. The early hours at Elliot's home were quiet, the usual banter that filled the space now replaced with a contemplative silence. Elliot, Simon, and Martin had gathered in the living room, each man lost in his thoughts as they awaited the time to escort Syrah to the launch site. Elliot was the first to break the silence, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "It feels surreal, doesn't it? Just when we've all gotten used to having Syrah around, learning so much." Simon nodded, adjusting his glasses. "I know. It's not just her leaving, though. It's the knowledge that she's taking a piece of Earth back with her. The exchange we've started, it's historic." Martin, who was often the most pragmatic of the trio, added, "We've set something in motion that's bigger than any one of us." This goodbye is just the beginning, really. Their conversation was interrupted by Syrah entering the room, her usual bright attire replaced by a more formal, ceremonial robe that reflected her royal status. She managed a small smile as she saw them. "I am ready to go." The drive to the launch site was quiet, each person lost in their personal reflections. When they arrived, they were greeted by a mixture of Earth's and Iridia's officials, all there to witness the departure. The launch pad was a flurry of activity, with technicians and security personnel moving with purpose. Yet, amidst the hustle, there was a solemnity to the proceedings, a shared understanding of the gravity of the moment. As they approached the spacecraft, a sleek vessel that gleamed under the morning sun, Elliot took a moment to speak privately with Syrah. "When you first arrived, I could never have imagined this outcome," Elliot said, his voice low. "I'm going to miss you more than I can say." Syrah reached out, taking his hand. "Elliot, what we've experienced together, the connection we've made, it's changed me. I will carry it with me always. Promise me something?" Elliot asked, his eyes searching hers. "Anything," Syrah replied. "Keep looking up at the stars. Remember, they're not just balls of gas and fire. They're reminders of what we've shared and what we can still share despite the distance." Syrah nodded, her eyes moist. "I promise." Their final goodbye was a poignant scene, witnessed by those gathered to see her off. After embracing each of her Earth friends, Syrah turned to board the spacecraft. The doors closed slowly, sealing her inside. The countdown began, and as the engines ignited, Elliot, Simon, and Martin stood together, watching as the spacecraft lifted off, soaring into the blue sky, shrinking to a point before disappearing from view. As the roar of the engines faded, the quiet of the morning returned. The three men remained, looking up at the sky long after the ship had vanished. "It's strange," Martin finally spoke, his voice reflective. "She came to us from the stars, and now she returns to them, taking a piece of each of us with her." Simon adjusted his glasses, looking back towards the now empty launch pad, "and leaving a piece of her with us. We've got work to do, gentlemen. Let's get to it." Elliot nodded, a determined look settling over his features. "Let's make sure this isn't the end. It's an until next time," like she said. Together, they turned and walked back to the car, their minds already turning to the future. Plans for continued communication with Aridia, for visits, and for the further exchange of knowledge and friendship. The adventure had started with a starry encounter, and now continued with the promise of bridging two worlds. As Elliot whispered under his breath, a phrase that had become a symbol of their entire journey, the poor alien girl adopted by an Earthling turned out to be a devoted princess. He realized the truth in those words was far richer and more complex than he could have ever imagined.